Come fly with me, let's fly away.
So day two has come to an end at the 2012 Myanmar Investment Conference. And a couple things I wanted to share with you. Just had a conversation with a deputy director for special projects from a Malaysian oil and gas company who's poking around this area looking for opportunities for his company. And he brought up a big concern that I've heard other people talk about, which is, what happens with the 2015 elections here in Myanmar. The country is only just now, coming out of its 60 years of dictatorial rule. They've just now had free elections for the first time and released political prisoners. And the question becomes, in 2015, do they sort of fall back and revert to, sort of a dictatorial past? And for that reason, he's really leery of coming in here. And I understand that, but I was sort of thinking about what does that really mean? Why? What does it mean that Myanmar is actually opening up right now, and why is it actually opening up? And I come to the conclusion that a big issue for them is the fact that during the period that the U.S. and the EU had sanctions on Myanmar, China ruled the place, and you heard that yesterday when I was telling you about some of the numbers of the foreign direct investment flowing into Myanmar. China's now 13-point-some-odd billion in oil and gas coming in here, and they used to be 67 million 10 years ago. It gives you an idea of the weight that China's throwing around. The problem with that, though, is that the Burmese here feel like the Chinese are not giving them a very good deal. The Chinese are sort of imposing the deals on them, and Myanmar doesn't have a whole lot of opportunities to fight back. By opening up, you bring the West in, and that's exactly what's happening. You've got, the U.S. and the U.K. are about to start lifting sanctions on these things, and the U.S. has already begun that process, and that's going to bring U.S. companies in here. It's going to increase competition. It's going to create better pricing for the assets that Myanmar has. And in fact, one of the Myanmar deputy generals yesterday made a comment that said, we want America to be an agent of positive change when they invest in Burma, and that's exactly what they're talking about. They're talking about the fact that they want America to sort of compete and supplant the power that China has. So I think there's going to be some pretty amazing opportunities because of that. One of them is going to be actually in banking. I talked to the deputy minister for one of the banks here in town, and he used to be part of the Myanmar Central Bank a couple years ago. And he's talking about the fact that Myanmar wants more publicly traded banks, and they're going to be opening up the investment market here. They're building a brand new stock exchange with the Tokyo Stock Exchange, and they're going to be publicly listing their banks. They've only got 600 branches across the entire country, and that's pretty small number of branches for a population of roughly 50-60 million people. So you're going to see banking really open up. I was talking to a German here yesterday who's been here for about 9 months, and most of the Burmese that he knows here, they don't have bank accounts. They keep everything at home because banking has never been sort of a real option for most people. You don't find bank accounts that often. You don't find ATMs here very often. All that's beginning to change. There's going to be some amazing opportunities in banking going forward. Whether or not we be able to get into them directly through the Burmese Stock Exchange or the Myanmar Stock Exchange when it opens up, it's still a question, because the deputy minister was telling me they may not open it to foreign investors for an extra 2 or 3 years after it opens up 3 years from now. So you're talking 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road before you would even have a real opportunity to get in here. However, he did say that they will be looking at cross-listing these things in the Singapore market, which is where we really want to be investors anyway, because we want to own some of these Singaporean companies who have a long history already tied to Myanmar and opportunities here. So that wraps up our 2 days here in Myanmar at the investment conference. I hope you've enjoyed these videos, and we'll see you back in the States.